year. That company is on fire right now. Hey, Jameela, how's it going?
Yeah, what about you?
Hey, doing good. Thanks so much for joining us. And we're only able to briefly talk about Farah in the last session. And what I love about this tool, and I knew Jay from like before he created Farah, essentially. This is one of the co-founders of Smile.io, really popular loyalty tool. Branched out on his own and said, there's a different component to the e-commerce business that I really want to solve, and I want to make it easy for things like testing. That's what I love about Fair, is that it actually has built-in split testing, so you can prove out things like copywriting, which Nick said it's easy to do and implement. And of course, Google optimizes maybe the full-fledged A/B testing tool, but if you want to test all of these skills within Farah, you actually can prove the ROI from within their tool. So that said, I'd love to see your insights on Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and what you're thinking as far as best practices for merchants.
Yeah, so we do, I have like a long presentation. I'm going to make sure that I breeze through it because we do have blog posts on all of them. But basically, yeah, at Farah, we're always trying to help merchants succeed. We're always trying to make sure that they're making the most money possible and that we can prove that we're helping them do that. And like you said, we have really good A/B testing, and we also have a really informative dashboard where people can see exactly what social proof is helping their revenue. And yeah, it's a pretty great tool. I use it on my store, and I'll have a few examples in the presentation. But this presentation isn't all about Farah, but I am going to say that we just launched review functionality, and we launched on Product Hunt. So if anybody wants to go and upvote us,
I'm going to go track this down. I'll share it here for sure. I want to see all about this because I want to see more about how you're handling reviews. This is interesting.
Yes, it's actually pretty sweet. I switched. I was using another review platform, and obviously I switched to our own review platform, and I got like a few reviews. I don't make a lot of sales online, but I was happy with my reviews. But I am basically just going to talk about today things that you can do in 24 hours or less, because as a merchant, I personally don't have a lot of time. We're a small team. I'm just going to share my screen. So we're a small team, and I'm always looking for things that I can do that are quick and that I can get done myself or with my small team. So I'm just going to start sharing my screen. All right, let's see.
Coming up now, looks good, perfect.
Okay, and I'm just gonna, okay, perfect. I just wanted to make sure that it worked. All right, so yeah, we're gonna be talking about actions that you can take in 24 hours or less. And at the end of each section, there'll be a couple bullet points on things that you can do in 24 hours or less. You can't do it all. You just have to pick one or two things that you guys think that you can work on, because like our last presenter said, it's the end of September and there's like not a whole bunch of new things that you want to be introducing, but there are a few things that few action points that you can take quickly. So we'll go through that. So in this presentation, we are going to cover a few topics. We're going to be covering ad spend, how you can build trust and urgency on your store for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, how you can retain your seasonal shoppers, which is going to be really important, how to deal with inventory and suppliers, and then some things that you can do to be making data-driven decisions. So let's talk about ad spend. So what are some trends from last year? So a lot of brands were really focusing on, they were focusing and they were on point on their ideal target market. So that's something like the last presenter said, you can't be everything to everybody. You meet a certain need and you have to make
Jameela,
sure.
Really quick, your microphone's getting a little scratchy. I don't know if it's rubbing up against something or something.
Oh, is this better?
Yes, it's better now. Sorry about that.
Okay, that's okay. But yes, you meet a need and you have to speak to your customer's need. So that's a trend that we've seen a lot of merchants follow from last year. And then also direct to consumer is up, even more so this year than last year, because people are forced to sell direct to consumer since retailers have been closing. And people are building lookalike audiences earlier and earlier, and ad spend is increasing earlier and earlier. And that's even true for now, because Amazon Prime is in 2 weeks, right? And the holiday season is creeping up earlier and earlier because we know that shipping cutoff times, which we'll talk about later, are going to be earlier this year. So then I just want to touch on a couple of the best ad platforms for each goal. So depending on your target market, you're going to want to be on different platforms. So we found that Facebook and Instagram is really good, especially Instagram is good for like younger lifestyle type customers, but Facebook is actually pretty awesome for advertising to older people because the ad spend is a lot less when you're targeting like an older demographic. And there are a lot of old people on Facebook. I mean, not old, in the slightly higher age bracket. They're not old. And then there's Google Shopping, which is really good, especially if you don't have really deep pockets. They made it so that it was free to be listed. So if you have really good SEO on your product pages, then you can be listed on Google Shopping. There's also the plugin through Shopify, where there's the Google Shopping plugin. And this is also really good if your brand doesn't have high visibility and maybe you're selling more of like a generic product where people aren't going to be typing for your brand's makeup palette, right? But maybe they'll be looking for makeup palettes for dark skin. So that's a really good way to get visibility. And then there's also Clickly, which depending on your revenue per month is good because it's commission based and there's no upfront spend, and you can choose your return on ad spend before, which is really nice instead of like praying that you're going to get a better return on ad spend after you've already started to run your ads. So then I want to move into how to lower your CPA. So one thing that you can do is start building lookalike audiences early. So I personally, for myself, found that 5%, I started this a month or so ago, and my 5% lookalike audience is performing really well. My 7%, not so much, but 5% is doing really good. So starting to test that early. Also having killer creative that really speaks to your target market and what they are looking for. And then the other thing is to, again, try, depending on how much revenue you're bringing in, is to try performance marketing. So like I talked about before, Clickly is nice because you can set your ad spend, but they need data to really deliver your ads properly. So you have to be making a certain amount per month to be on the platform. But if you are, then performance marketing is a really good option for you. So what are some things that you can do in 24 hours or less to improve your ad spend? So really narrow down your core message and fine tune your creative. So you want to, hopefully you've been doing testing the whole year and you know what's really resonating with your audience and you know what kind of deals and discounts they liked from last year. So making sure that your creative is on point, exploring some other channels where you can, and utilizing lookalike audiences. So those are things that you can do in 24 hours or less. I'm not telling you to do all of them. I'm just telling you to focus on one thing. And then once you've done that, then you can move on. Because like I said, you can't do it all. Okay, now let's talk about building trust and urgency on your store in the lead up to Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Because we all know that once people get to your site, they need to be able to trust you in order to buy from you. So what are some really good trust signals? So some trust signals are obviously product reviews, which I'll get back to, but things like site design, having a really good About Us page and a Contact Us page, especially if you're new, maybe you just built your store, it's just you, make sure that your customers have a way to contact you, because if they don't, they may not trust you. Then there's also reviews and testimonials. So with Farah, you can add average rating badges, you can add product reviews to your product pages and to your homepage. And also having product photos is really important to build trust, especially if you have user-generated product photos, because people really like to see how things are going to look in their home, how things are going to look on their bodies. So having your customer photos on your product page or even on your home page is going to be really beneficial for building trust, because it shows that somebody bought your product, they gave you their money, they got their product, they were happy with it enough to actually send a photo in. So creating like review request campaigns, you can do that with Farah, is very useful to getting customer photos and even customer videos, which are even better than customer photos. Then there is creating urgency. So as you can see, this is an example of a low stock warning and how many people are also looking at the product. So when you're driving ads to a product page, then you want people to feel like if they don't check out right away, they're gonna miss out on the product. So if I look and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's only 2 left, then I want to buy this before Black Friday is over. So having things like low stock warnings, timers in your cart or on your homepage are really important. But again, make sure that you're offering your customers a compelling offer or something that aligns with your brand. So maybe you're not a brand that discounts, but maybe you say, oh, you can only get a gift with purchase for the next 12 hours or something like that. So making sure that it's a really good and compelling offer in that sense. So now, what are things that you can do in 24 hours or less to build trust and to create urgency? So if you haven't already, you have to plan your offers now that align with your brand and what your customers are actually going to want. And you should start gathering customer events and information now. So what does that mean? That means, so for example, with Farah, if you add like what was in the last slide, 49 people are viewing, start adding that to your website so that Farah can gather the information and show people how many people have added to cart or how many people have checked out. And then also understanding your customer lifetime value and the purchase percentage, because when you're crafting your offers, you want to make sure that maybe you can take a little bit of a loss now, or maybe you can break even because your customer lifetime value is so high. And of course, you're going to have to be retaining your shoppers in order to get a good lifetime value. So let's talk about retaining your seasonal shoppers. So Black Friday, Cyber Monday, of course, you're going to see a lot of traffic, but you want to make sure that at least you can retain a few of them going into Q1. So one way to do that is with loyalty. But there are a lot of them. If you just Google on the Shopify App Store, if you look in the Shopify App Store, or if you just do a quick Google search, you'll see that there are a lot of loyalty programs. But what you really want to do with your seasonal shoppers is try to bring them into the fold, right? Get them into your community, get them on your Instagram page, get them into your Facebook group, and offer them an incentive to do that. So what you can do is you can set up your loyalty program and you can say, follow us on Facebook and you'll get 50 points, follow us on Instagram and you'll get 50 points, or something like that, so that you have a way to talk to them after Black Friday is done. The other thing that you can do is get them to refer a friend, which is very, very powerful. If somebody buys something from you for Black Friday, maybe when they refer a friend, their friend will be buying from you for Christmas. So implementing a loyalty program is very important. The other thing is creating a sweet email sequence. Once you've acquired your customer, your job is not done. So I personally use Kit, that's by Shopify, to write an email sequence. And basically I say something like, oh, here's our story. And if you want to add something to your cart right away, here's a 10% discount. So here's just an example of somebody who responded and was like, oh, thanks for the code. I couldn't help but buy one more thing. So this is really good for improving your average order value and for retaining your customers for another purchase. So yes, have a good email sequence. And of course, you can, depending on how large your business is, you can customize your email sequence depending on the provider that you're using, like OmniSend or Klaviyo, or I guess still MailChimp, depending on what platform that you're using, based on like their average order value or their location or anything like that. Okay, so then the next really good way to retain your seasonal shoppers is through your retargeting ads. So making sure, I know there's some new people, there are some old people on this call who are trying to learn. So making sure that you have your pixels set up so that you can retarget these people on Facebook or through Google. So making sure that you say, depending on maybe what they bought or where they came from, then you can say, oh, we have like another sale going on, or, oh, we have a great gift for Christmas, or in February, be like, I noticed that you ordered this gift and maybe this is going to be a good gift for your girlfriend, or something like that. Just retargeting your customers so that they understand that you exist. All right, so then we can go through a couple things that you can do in 24 hours or less. And like I said, you can't do them all, so just pick one. So you can create your follow-up email sequence on whatever email provider that you use. You can set up your loyalty program today. There are, like, Smile has a free plan, so you can try that. You can start thinking about your unboxing experience. And I didn't talk about this earlier, but when you have a really good unboxing experience, it makes it easier for you to ask for a review. And people are excited to share that. And then you can choose your customer communication. So making sure that you are able to communicate with your customer while they're shopping and after their checkout, because they are going to appreciate that. And then updating your FAQ, because customers enjoy a very good customer experience. So if you have an FAQ like, can I use this discount code with this discount code, and they don't have to ask you about it and wait for a response, then that's going to add to a good customer experience, and they're more likely to shop from you again. So now we can talk about inventory and suppliers. And it's like pretty late in the game, but it's not too late to still be thinking about this. So let's talk about returns versus exchanges. You want to make sure that you are incentivizing your customers to do an exchange instead of a return, especially depending on the size of your business and where you're located. So, well, in Canada, you don't have to do returns. You can only do exchanges, but I know that American customers really, they have lots of, I guess, rights, you could say. So returns are definitely a big thing. But what we typically do is, if somebody's like, oh, I want to get a return, or we want a refund or something, we'll say, okay, well, we can also give you an extra $5 or 25%, so that we don't have the reduced cash in our bank account and the reduced cash flow. We don't have to give them the money back, but they have a little bit extra bonus if they choose to exchange and not take a refund. So that's something that you maybe want to consider doing or training your staff to do, because it's always better to have the money in your pocket. And depending on your cost of goods sold, it may actually be worth it to give them an extra 25% store credit than to actually refund them. Okay, then the next thing is shipping. So you need to be super clear on your website about your shipping, the rates, the cutoff times, how long it's going to take to get there. Once carriers start telling us what their cutoff times are, which I'm sure is probably going to be like early November if you want to get it for Christmas, then you have to communicate that on your website. And I personally use tabs by station, and I have a little shipping tab, and I communicate all of our shipping times, and if things are going to be delayed during COVID, I put it in bold. However, people still do not read. So in our follow-up email, when I say thank you for your purchase, I also put that shipping times may be delayed, especially to America. I'm in Canada, so I make sure that I let my American customers know that shipping is delayed. And even then, some people aren't going to read. So having them in various places and various touch points is a good idea. And then you may want to consider hiring staff already to start helping you pack orders for the increased volume. And oops, sorry. And you may want to consider hiring staff to help you pack and ship, and you may want to also choose a 3PL. So that's really important. And then let's also talk about our inventory. So you want to make sure that you calculate your reorder points, and you have all of this information at hand in order to make sure that you have your inventory in stock. And then in some of the next slides, we'll talk about looking at data points from sold out inventory. But you want to make sure that you have all your best sellers in stock, because it's better to be overstocked for Black Friday, not too much overstocked so that you're still carrying inventory into Q1. But being sold out is not great, because then you don't have the opportunity to earn that revenue. Okay, so what can you do in 24 hours or less? You can add tabs by station and make sure you update your shipping options and let people know what the cutoff times are going to be, because you are going to get questions, you're going to get people bombarding you. You want to make sure that you are extremely clear so that you can reach the most people as possible. And then you can also start the hiring process for temporary staff and start calculating your reorder points, so you know when you're going to have to order your inventory in order to get your goods in time to ship out for Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Now, the last thing is making data-driven decisions. This is very important, and of course, we know that this isn't going to be the same as last year. However, you should always be doing your best to make the best decision that you can with the information that you have. So some data points that you should be looking at are your traffic sources from last year. So that's revenue, conversion rate, and then when you're looking at your ad channels, return on investment versus return on ad spend, your sold out products, that kind of thing. So of course, with your ad profitability, you don't only want to look at return on investment, you do want to be looking at return on ad spend, which is the revenue divided by the ad cost. And then you also want to be syncing your ads to your inventory. So you don't want to be running ads that are going to sold out products, because you're just wasting your ad money. And then the other thing that you can be talking about and looking at are your shopper and your order journeys. So this is just an example of Farah shopper and order journeys. And this is really important because you want to compare your order journey to your shopper journey and see where your shoppers maybe dropped off and where people who ordered went and completed a checkout. So comparing these things and seeing where people who actually bought went through your website is going to be really important for creating an experience that helps to convert shoppers. And then the other thing is also using heat maps in conjunction with this. So you can know if people are clicking on something that like maybe looks like a button but isn't a button. So those are things that you want to look at. So now here are the things that you can do in 24 hours or less. So just start with one thing, because data can be extremely overwhelming. So just start with one thing and one goal and go from there. And then focus on your best performing channels. So if you notice that Pinterest was doing the best for you, I've never heard anybody say that, but if you notice that Pinterest was doing the best for you, focus on Pinterest and don't try and reinvent the wheel. And then review your shopper journeys. And like I said, you can do that with Farah and use heat map data to optimize your pages. And you don't want to be making too many changes right now, but if there's something that is glaring and obvious, then you should be changing that. So I'll just take you through a little bit about how you can grow, show, and learn with Farah. So you can use Farah to create review request campaigns. So if you don't have a lot of customer photos, or if you're looking for more customer videos, then you can use Farah and you can try and gather customer photos. Make sure that you're offering really good incentives, because like we said before, having customer photos, having reviews, having videos really helps to build trust. And that's going to help you to improve your conversion rate, because people buy from people that they trust. And then, of course, you can use Farah to showcase your customer reviews. So as you can see, it's pretty easy to just click your location and just put it on your page. So that's one way that Farah can help you to showcase your social proof and build more trust. And then, like Derek was saying before, you can A/B test with Farah, and it's super, super easy. Even for somebody like me, you just go, you click what you want to test, and then it'll tell you if the winning performance should be on or if it should be off. And then, of course, we also talked about learning through your shopper and order journeys. And Farah provides a lot of detailed insight onto where people clicked, products that they were viewing. We also talk about the kind of social proof that they interacted with. So this is a very useful tool that you can use. And then we have really great reporting. So you can see exactly the gained sales and how many shoppers we helped you influence. And it's very easy to understand. So that's what you'll get when you are hanging out with Farah. So you can try Farah free for 2 months, and then you can also get I'll find the link. You can also get a checklist, which was actually one of the freebies. You can get the full checklist for everything that I talked about to help you get ready for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, because I know it was a lot of information, but we do have it in written form that you can download as a PDF, and it'll help you hopefully get through Black Friday, Cyber Monday. But like I said, you cannot do it all. Just pick a few things, and we are always here to help. So head over to Farah.ai and try out our tool, and hopefully it works for you. So that's all I got.
Perfect. Awesome. And thank you so much. Anan says, love the way you present. I think that, the sections that you presented on, all components that maybe you've thought about in e-commerce, but you're able to give us a little bit of a different way or incentive to. Just as an example, yesterday we talked about tracking that shipping time and predicting the landed date. And here you're saying, by the way, put those dates and deadline dates in your email, right? It's like, okay, it's like transparency that we just probably are about to forget that we need to do in our business. It's like a really big, just like an easy win. I think that's a very easy win that you can go do today. And you don't need to test. Just make sure and be transparent. In general, at least in my belief, the more transparent you are, the more the customer will thank you for it. And so start by being as transparent as possible. But yeah. And then Stephanie's link into the blog, and we're going to find the link to the tabs tool and a few other ones that we've attempted to link here and link in the show notes. If you haven't been following along, let me link the show notes to everybody here one more time. Perfect. Final thoughts, Jameela.
My final thoughts are honestly like, just depending on where you are in your business, do the best you can with like what you have and the information that you have, because we don't know what things are going to be like. Like, we have a pretty good idea based on how the rest of the year has gone, but all you can do is try and look at your data, be as prepared as you can. And depending, like if you're just a couple people just saying, I have done my best, I've looked at all my data, and this is the best that I can do for my site, and I'm going to learn from this Black Friday and going into the holiday season. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Perfect. With that said, we're going to move right into our next presentation with Greg from OmniSend. Thanks again.
Yeah.